All righty, there we go. We are good to go. All right, everybody who is joining us, welcome. The Carolina Hurricanes are still alive, and this guy is officially banned from PNC Arena for the duration of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I'm
Everyone,
bad luck,
my
apparently.
good friend, welcome back, my good friend Sam Wallace. Sam, I'm getting some stats and stuff together. Go ahead and give your thoughts on the game to everybody, and take as much time as you want.
First period. I mean, I thought this kind of mirrored that game three a bit. I thought the first period was obviously the best period for the Hurricanes. They
Mm-hmm.
really got to the dirty areas, and
Mm-hmm.
because of that, they got 3 goals onto Sturkin. And even though the Rangers got to 1-2, and obviously Canes ending that period 3-1, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're up 2 goals on the Rangers. I think that was big, and I think that was part of the reason why the Hurricanes won is that they were up 2 goals. But the
Mm-hmm.
Rangers did claw back. I didn't think the Hurricanes were as dangerous in the second or third period,
Mm-hmm.
and they get on the power play again within the last few minutes, and you're wondering, could this be it? And Brady Shea does. He scores and wins it pretty much. I was cleaning to my teeth though the last 2 minutes because they pulled their goalie. I thought the Rangers might were going to tie it, but
Mm-hmm.
Hurricanes hang on.
Yeah, I'm looking for something that I was writing on X earlier. The thing I was talking about winning shifts. Alrighty, let me roll down here. I got in with it to some guy who was talking about Lafreniere knocking out Aho, but he's really tough until Svechnikov skates over there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see. Uh, I've got him here somewhere. All right, there we go. Okay, so the first period. Now, tell me what you think of this. So when I say a shift, I mean everything that goes on between whistles or full line changes between both teams. In the first period, I said the Hurricanes won 16 shifts and the Rangers won 7, and that the scoreboard reflected that. Second period, much closer game. Carolina won 14 shifts, the Rangers won 11. That's why they got within one. And then in the third period, I said that the Hurricanes won 18 shifts and the Rangers won 12. So as far as like the momentum was going and everything like that, Carolina controlled it for a decent amount of the night. Where they did have some hiccups at though, they were pretty consequential, especially that the goal that Lafreniere scored. Anderson's got to clean up a few things in his game. I think he's still a little shaky. And another thing that I posted earlier, and I stand by this, I think that Kochekov needs to go for the rest of the series.
Oh,
I
I
just,
do too.
I
Yeah.
just, I don't think Freddie's. I don't think for like, and you know how much I've went out of my way to defend Frederick Anderson, but we're in a do or die situation. And I'm not saying that Freddie doesn't see playoff ice again should we manage to get through this in advance, but I think right now Kochekov has to be the guy because Freddie was good enough tonight, but he was not what we need.
Yeah, and I mean in the playoffs, there's no margin of error.
Right.
There really isn't. And if you let in the bad goal, that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
And Anderson definitely did that on that Lafreniere goal. Um, I don't blame the second goal on him. That was a tip. I don't blame tips on any goalie for that matter.
No,
But
that's what happened to Kochekov
Anderson,
the other night.
yeah, it happened to Kochekov. So I don't blame Anderson on that second goal. Could he have probably been able to cover that puck when he was able to touch over the stick? Yes. I think
Mm-hmm.
he could have. I think there's a good argument for that. But the initial shot itself, no, I don't blame that on Anderson.
Right. All right. We'll go through some of the comments here. We got a lot of rowdy guys here in the house tonight. Let's see. Coconut Kyle says, "Let's fucking go." I agree. Matthew Brown, we're not going down without a fight. One game, one at a time. Canes, yes, one at a time. That's why I've always said I don't even look at it one shift at a time, or I don't look at it one game at a time. I don't look at it one period at a time, one shift at a time. Hurricanes punched back when they needed to. I will say this: I thought that they played better in game 2 and 3 than they did tonight, but this was still miles better than what they did in game 1.
Yeah.
So they managed to get it done, but they did not play their absolute best tonight. So they're going to have to in game 5 or we're done. Like we need to
Yes,
see this team
exactly.
hit another level. They need to have another gear. Let's see, J Dub. I said Shea should have been in QB1 since fucking game 1. Damn it, let's fucking go, Canes. Yeah, and if Pesci's getting close, then you're not even going to have the D'Angelo option. So yeah, Shea's really got to keep it going on the power play there. I was advocating for that even a couple of years ago that I thought Shea would be great on the power play because they tried Slavin back there, and Slavin's great. That's not his specialty though. Being a
No.
power play quarterback it's a specialty. It's a very specific skill set. That's why you have guys like Tony D'Angelo, Evan Bouchard, Tyson Berry, Sean Dursey, Eric Carlson. List goes on.
Kel McCarr.
Kel McCarr just does everything right. Like
Yeah, and
you can
Quinn
use
Hughes.
him in everything.
Quinn Hughes is really good.
Quinn Hughes is an excellent power play quarterback. Yes. Let's see. I'm going to the bar to enjoy this. Yeah, have fun, buddy. Just be careful and don't get beat up. Or I'm not worried about you getting beat up, but you might get jumped. There's apparently was some physical exchanges on the way out of PNC tonight. Now, here's the good news. In the event that Carolina wins the next game, there won't be as much blue there. I can promise you that.
No. And funny thing, I have more confidence in this current lineup that the Hurricanes have at MSG than I do at home because I just don't think there's an established home ice advantage with the lineup.
No, I don't either. It's not as matchup friendly, and that might
it's not.
that might play out better in the long run. Actually, I mean, I feel a hell of a lot better than I did. I knew that this was going to be a nail biter. I really did. I wish they would win a game decisively here. That if they could win the next one decisively, all the better before coming back to home ice. Travis says that power play goal was like a ton of bricks off my chest. I was listening at work and I yelled so loud. It feels so good. I'm glad you could yell. I just sat there in silence the entire game. I was just like over and over again. BTS, not the band, says, woo, let's go. Yes, I agree. Mean Girl Hockey, welcome back. Great game. Looking forward to Monday night. Me too. That's going to be fun. Trying to get the next comment to come up here. It's being slow while we're waiting on that. Don't tell me this thing is frozen. Okay. All right, the chat's frozen. So, all right, there we go. If the Rangers can win 3, why can't the Canes? No, it's totally possible. They're absolutely capable of it. And the narrative changes completely if they win the next game.
Yes.
If they win the next game, it changes entirely. Right,
definitely.
Let's see, we got 2 more here. No, go ahead and keep talking.
Again, like honestly, I mean, I think Canes have been playing better at MSG than they have been at PNC.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if they can play like they did probably in game 2, obviously was scoring on the power play. And I mean, I saw Sam Driscoll was on earlier with you, and he says it himself.
He was right.
Like,
if you can score on the
power play goal, you'll win, and that's what happened.
Yes. I think that if they can score, like let's say that they can get 1 out of the first 2 power plays they get in the next game, if they get 2, the cracks are starting to show on the dam for the power play. You can't say the floodgates are open yet with it. If they get 1 in quick succession, or if they manage to go 33% or higher for the power play in the next game and win, then you can say the floodgates are going to open. The cracks are showing.
They are.
But they still got some work to do.
And I mean, credit to the Hurricanes. I mean, Rangers didn't really only had 1 power play, but it seems like they've already turned the penalty kill into somewhat of a strength, because I thought their penalty kill, even though it was only 1 for 1, pretty good.
Yeah, and that's something I've talked about before with the penalty kill with the Canes. I've never seen it as just a strength of theirs. They use it to change the momentum in a game. And they did in that period. I feel like that penalty kill helped change the landscape of that game ultimately. Let's see, Coconut Kyle. I had to get the 4th goal. It was killing me. Tired of hearing about Igor's streak. And you know what's funny about that? You and I were both watching the broadcast. They mentioned that so many damn times. Oh, Igor's not allowed more than 3 goals in 30 playoff games, or whatever it was. But we snap it. Not a fucking word about it.
Yeah, I know. I was so happy. I was like, if we can get 4 goals, that means they'll finally shut up about Shesterkin having the only allowing 3 or less goals in 30 games. I'm like, oh my God, for this many times. Yeah, I'm not a Brian Boucher person.
I thought that
a bit.
Oh no, he was pissing me off. I mean, you saw the things that I posted. I'm like, I don't know who I dislike more now, him or Eddie Olczyk, and I hate Eddie Olczyk with a passion. If I saw Eddie Olczyk walking down the street, I'd make fun of his hair transplants. It's like I just don't. I've never fucking liked him, and he makes his dislike of the Hurricanes very, very apparent.
And it's funny because Brian Boucher actually played goalie for the Hurricanes at
He
one
did.
point.
We drafted him.
I'm just like, oh, what's with this beef kind of with the Hurricanes? Because anything he would point out anything negative
Hmm.
about the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I was like, my gosh, this guy
Yeah.
is so nitpicky. Like Kuznetsov tried the lacrosse goal. Why
Yeah.
not try it at this point?
In that situation, you can go for a traditional wraparound where you have no room, or you can try and get the daylight above Shesterkin's shoulder. And you're talking about how good of a goalie this is. You've got to beat him in unconventional ways. And what's more unconventional than that?
Exactly. Like I don't blame Kuznetsov for doing that.
Yeah. He damn near took
He
it in.
almost pulled it off, actually. I mean, I
Oh, if
don't
he'd
fault
done that, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because I was just sitting there. Did I ever tell you about the reaction that I had the first time that I saw Svechnikov score the lacrosse goal?
What?
Okay, so I was sitting on my couch, and my dog, who is currently staring at me right now, he was laying on the couch next to me. We went out for a run before that. I got done cooking. I'm sitting there watching them play against Calgary, and I'm like, bro, Carolina's playing like such dog shit. Like they were awful that entire game
Oh,
until
the Calgary
Svechnikov.
game.
Yeah, when Svechnikov scored the first lacrosse goal, and then he goes and he tries that shit, and it goes in. And I just sat there in disbelief, looking at my food, going, "Did I accidentally cook something into this that I'm not supposed to have?" And I'm like, "Did I get this cooked all the way through?" I was having chicken and broccoli, and I'm like, "Let me make sure that this chicken's done." And I noticed that there was a guy sitting behind the bench, and he had the exact same reaction I did, or not sitting behind the bench, sitting behind the glass. He had the exact same reaction I did. Everybody in the world stood up except for me and that dude. I was just sitting there in disbelief that I actually witnessed that.
Yeah,
And then
he managed to do it 2 more times.
yeah, the second one was even more impressive, the one that he did in Winnipeg. And Neil Pionk goes over to the official, like, trying to say that it shouldn't count.
Well, I think there was, like, something before that he was complaining about, like some penalty or something, but yeah, that
Neil
was
Pionk.
and Tripp goes, "It goes international," so.
Yeah, it has crossed customs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I find it hard to believe that Neil Pionk was complaining about something. I never heard of that happening. Let's see. Rangers fans can finally shut up. They won't. Okay, so here's the next. I want you to tell me what you think of this theory. Let's say we drag this to 7 games and we win. You know what I think the next thing is going to be? They're going to say, well, the Hurricanes' power play sucks, so they stopped calling penalties on us so it would stay on 5-on-5 so they'd win. Guarantee you they're going to say that.
Oh, yeah, they will. But, I mean, Carolina, I thought they were much better discipline-wise, which is part of the reason they weren't on the penalty kill a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't really like the elbow Kreider made on Jarvis.
I thought that should have been a penalty, not like a major or anything, but I think that should have been a minor penalty. That's just me.
Yeah, and the Natchez trip, maybe. Again,
that one I was kind of 50-50 on because I feel like that felt kind of incidental to me. I think they were both just going for the same spot of ice. You're talking about the one on entry where he went ass over T-Kittle like 5 times and slid all the way to – yeah, I if it were me, I wouldn't have called that. That's a hockey play gone wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand why the ref didn't call that, honestly. But other than that, I didn't really have any complaint with the officials. And to be honest, I think what the playoffs need to be is, you can have maybe just call the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that's the best thing the refs should do.
Like the Martinook one, you have to call that.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
Let's see.
Like, just call the obvious. I just think that's what needs to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. At 3-2, obviously, yeah. We didn't get swept, and the most important thing here is we don't have to hear about it all offseason. But we're going to hear about something this offseason. You always do. But like I genuinely believe this. If Carolina wins on Monday night, they win the series. I legitimately believe that. It's going to be difficult, but the narrative changes entirely if they win on Monday night. It really does.
Yes, it does, but I'm not going to say anything until we actually play Game 7.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say much, but it's just like the odds are astronomically against us right now, and I believe it goes to a legitimate – if we win the next game, I believe it goes to a legitimate 60-40 at that point. I really do.
Mm-hmm. And I could see – honestly, I could see the Rangers in Game 5 kind of playing a little bit cocky And
I can too, because they'll be at home. And,
Yeah.
We're desperate. We have to win. They don't.
Yeah, so they can kind of be like, oh, we have room forever. We're fine.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that could be where the Canes strike.
Yeah, that's what I believe. That's a great idea. And then there was something else I was thinking of. I'm going to look it up here in a second, but we'll get through some more of the chats here. They will probably say Igor hasn't let in 4 goals in 15 games except that one team. Ha ha ha. Yeah, something like that, I'm sure. Another thing I noticed tonight, I had never seen Sebastian Aho play as physical as he has in this series, and he exemplified that tonight. I've never seen him lay the body this much.
Oh, I love it.
I do too.
I mean, I've said this before on our podcast, but I love when Aho gets angry, and I think he needs to get angry more often.
He played out of his mind tonight. He really did. Defensively, amazing. Had that goal.
I mean, that's the only line I trust, offensively at least.
Yeah, if we make it through this series, they seriously need to consider shaking the lines up at the first practice should we advance. Because
I didn't
terrified
like
of
the
this.
Drury line at all.
I didn't either. Let's see. I can't believe we got a power play going in the 2024 playoffs again. Blessed right now. Yeah, the next one will be telling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every team is okay with lacrosse until it's against their team. Yeah, and about people like wanting to make it against the rules. I'm like, how are you gonna? How are you gonna write a rule like that and enforce it? And 2, it's not gonna happen that much. It's an infrequent thing. It'll happen maybe out of the entire league, all 32 teams playing 82 games each. It might happen 5 times a season. It's not worth making a rule. We were talking about that earlier. Me and Sam Driscoll were. Hockey does not need more rules. It needs less. That's why I want the trapezoid out. That's my biggest reason for wanting the trapezoid out.
And I think there's a good, strong position against it because offense sells in every sport.
Yeah.
And I think if you eliminate that, it creates more chances for offense.
I do too. And, the whole idea behind it was it would create more offense because the goalie would have a harder time playing the puck. But the problem is now all the goalies are good at playing the puck. It's
irrelevant now.
It's an irrelevant rule, yeah. And it's one less thing that you'd have to enforce. So I just say get rid of the trapezoid, and it's one less thing that you have to worry about, and just let them play.
Yeah, and I would say get rid of the instigator rule too.
I wouldn't say get rid of it, but maybe change it a little bit to make it a little bit more or a little bit less gray. Because, like, per the instigator rule the other night, Jimmy Vesey should have went to the showers early.
Yeah, he should have.
So it's like that's why I don't like that rule being written like that because, I'm glad that Vesey was not, given a misconduct for that because I don't think that was a situation where you give a guy a misconduct.
No.
And KK dropped his gloves too, even though it took him a couple of seconds. That's not one of those times where I think that you throw him out. Now, Tom Wilson ambushing Jamie Alexiak, though, his ass should have got, he should have got a misconduct for that a couple of years ago. That was one of those things where I was like, no, that's what the instigator rule was written for. So I think they need to make it a little bit more straightforward. That might help with it a little bit, but you can say that about a lot of the rules in hockey. Speaking of, inconsistent refs are what kills me. Yeah, and they were actually pretty good tonight. I got to give them that. I wouldn't be surprised if Brent. Because Brent, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said this. I'll say it again. I think refs need to just call the obvious when it comes to playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I know Carolina's better 5-on-5 than the Rangers. I think even Rangers fans will probably admit that. I'm not saying that just because Carolina can win with no penalties on either sides, but I think the biggest problem I had with the officiating was in Game 1.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really had a huge problem. I would say even after whistles, if there's a huge scrum, just let it go. Personally.
Yeah, I believe that. Unless somebody does something egregious like with the stick or something like that. Like Lafreniere chopped Aho right in the kidneys way behind the play. I think that they should have called that because, look, the puck was long gone. I don't know what his deal was about it. And he was trying to get in Aho's head all night, and he didn't let him. But yeah, let's see what else we got here. BTS, I hate we were always underdogs when we were always so good. I wouldn't say we were the underdogs going in this time. We were the favorite this time. And I don't like being the favorite.
I hate being the favorite.
I'd rather be the underdog because, okay, so me living by DC, I can tell you this. when 2018 or when 2017, 2018 came around, everybody here that was actual hockey fans had given up on the Caps winning the cup. The moment they stopped being the favorite, they won. So I don't want to be the favorite. I hate being the damn favorite. That's why it's like, 2019 for us, that was fun. I love exceeding expectations.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this team to make the playoffs in 20. I was just expecting them to like maybe improve from the last season, or at least tank, like at least have a direction, because there was no direction. That's why
Yeah.
there were the dark ages for so long.
Yeah.
But I mean, we made the playoffs, and it all started. I mean, I remember it started, I believe, against Philly in December. That was the game that year that turned the whole season around.
You're
Went on a
right.
ridiculous run.
The one, it was late December because then after that, I think after January 1st, I think they won 26 of 41 games or something like that.
Yes.
No, they went on an absolute crazy tear. That's why it's like when we went to the playoffs up here, people were like, "Oh, you actually think you're going to beat the Caps?" I'm like, "We won 26 of our last 41 games, and we never lost 5 in a row at any point this season. I'm I'm not too terrified of not beating you guys." Let's see. We never get respect. Steve Dangle said the Islanders were going to win in 6. Pardon me. Yeah. So
Really?
I know what video he's talking about. He did the preview with Jesse and whatever the other guy's name is. I don't really, as far as hockey YouTubers go, the ones I watch the most are the Hockey Guy and
Yes.
Twisted Wrister. Those are my two favorites. And honestly, those guys kind of were the inspiration for how I wanted my channel to be. I wanted to cite advanced metrics and make analytical videos and all that type of stuff, but I also wanted to have some formats where I keep stuff simple, kind of like what we're doing right now. Like if I'm ever in a hotel room and I need to cite stats and stuff, that's the one time I'd actually pull out a whiteboard and just write them down and everything and maybe present them that way. But I didn't get around to it, but that's the series preview they did of us and the Islanders. I was gonna fucking roast that, and I was just like, I was gonna do it. I just never got to it because I was more concerned with building my series preview, and then I built the one for us and the Rangers, and that went to like 40 minutes. I'm gonna try to make them not so long next time, but that's part of the reason why us, we have our little network. Me, Sam, the other Sam, AB, and Griff. We all wanted to start our own thing that kind of gave the Hurricanes their due, but we're also people who know how to criticize the team. There's other mediums we know that will not criticize anybody other than Tony D'Angelo and Frederick Anderson.
Yep.
We didn't want to be those guys.
No.
So if you could see our group chat, we disagree about shit all the time. Anybody who says we're an echo chamber, they don't know anything about us.
And I think it's good that there's disagreement, because it means we're confident in our opinions or analysis of this team.
And there's been times where you guys have said stuff and it's been thought provoking for me personally. And I would, change how I was looking at something because I'm like, you know what, that's a good point. That's not something I would have thought of on my own. But it's like you can't have one person build an airplane. You can't have one person build a race car. You can't have one person build any sort of like, anything, including something that's kind of, simple and inconsequential as hockey YouTube, hockey podcasts, and everything like that. But having, a diversity of I'm trying to think. Diversity of thought is a good thing to have. It's how you build things because you have to have different approaches to things, and we have that. Alrighty, so I'm going to go over some stats here after we get through these next two chats, and we'll talk about a few more things. Let's see. Call me crazy, but I think TDA played great. He had a couple of really, really, really bad turnovers. One of them led to the Rangers' second goal. Other than that, I thought he was fine. My girlfriend, who is not into sports at all, she's watching him play, and she's like, "Why is he never playing? Because he's really good." I'm like, "Yeah, his skating is incredible. It stands out. The only guy on the team I think that's a better skater than him is Natchez."
Yes, I agree with that 100%. What's funny is, Shea scored the game-winning goal. I didn't think he had that good of a game.
No, he did not.
He was turning the puck over so many times.
Yeah, he made it count when he needed to count, and I thought Burns was much better tonight. I gotta give him that. That was Brent Burns that we need. If he really feels like he can't play like that, he needs to let the Iron Man streak go. Let Tony in for him for a game when we get Pesci back if needed. But I think a rested Brent Burns will be more like that. But we're not going to have a chance to rest nobody if we're going to get through this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a very good win. think of maybe any other thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the corner of my eye, I have the Dallas Colorado game right now. John Forsland is commenting.
Yeah, I wish he was calling our games. Oh,
I do
I
too.
really do. Yeah. Let's see. All right, that's it for the chats for the moment. All righty. All right, so here's what we got. Shots on goal. First period, Carolina 10-8. Second period, Carolina 13, Rangers 12. Third period, Carolina 8, Rangers 5. Total, Carolina 31, Rangers 25. Face-off percentage, Carolina 51.1 versus 48.9 for the Rangers. Carolina was 50% on the power play, 1 out of 2. The Rangers only had 1 power play, and the Hurricanes managed to kill it off. Penalty minutes, 6 versus 4, 2 of those being the offsetting minors. Carolina had 24 hits versus the Rangers having 22. Carolina blocked 15 shots. The Rangers blocked 17. Here's something that's a little bit troubling, even though I know that this is not the best track metric, but it's also true. Carolina had 22 giveaways tonight. That can't happen again.
No.
And takeaways were 10-10. I know a lot of that was them trying to make those extra stretch passes through the neutral zone, and they're playing hot potato with it on entry way too much anyway. So
just do what you've been doing and try to do a solid, good, just dumping to the other. Yeah, it seems like that's just where the best that we do it from. Do I like that strategy? No. I prefer probably like the because I think Hurricanes, especially with the offense we have, can adapt more to the Russian type of play where it's all transition and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff, so.
No, I meant to get to this guy right here. I actually think he's like one of my subscribers or something. Special teams and Anderson, the only reason Kane's won. No, I know who this is.
Anderson, I don't know.
Anderson, like that wide angle goal he led in from Lafreniere, I was like, bro, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm just playing. Y'all got us. It was a good win. Yeah, it'll. Me as a hockey fan, one of the other reasons I want Carolina to keep winning is this series should have been a lot better than what it is in terms of where it's at right now. I would love for it to be 2-1 or 2-2 just from the standpoint of these are the top 2 teams in the league playing each other in the second round. Thank you, stupid NHL playoff format. If they ever went to 1 versus 16, I think I'd be okay with it. I know that's a lot more travel on them, but at the same time, it's kind of like, All right, let's see if we got anything special for advanced metrics here. All right, deserve a win-o-meter.
I hope Nathan played more time than KK. Man.
I will tell you in 2 seconds. The only reason I can think of that Nason's not getting to play more often is if Nason if he's hurt, because Rod trusts him a lot. He loves to put him in big situations where you need a goal, especially.
And he did.
Yeah. No, he must be fighting through something. All right, so expected goals, all situations, Carolina 3.62 to 2.53. So that's good there. That's also normal. Now lines, this is where Carolina, I wish I had a way to put this on the screen when I have 2 monitors. It'll be a lot easier to do. I'm trying to do it no, it's on individual players. I want to do it by forward lines. All right, so the highest expected goals percentage for a line in this game for the Hurricanes was Gensel, Aho, and Svechnikov at 75%, 75.58 to be exact. Cooley, Winberg, and Kakko were at, I'm trying to get it to let me scroll over to see what that one was at.
I thought that line was actually really good for the Rangers.
80.1. No, that line is really good. And then the next ranked one there is Martin O'Jury-Nages at 52.51. And right underneath that, actually, Kotkaniemi, Kuznetsov, Nason, 46.25. Then you have Kreider, Zibanejad, and Roslovic at 40.61. That's a good thing that we managed to shut that line down. And then also Lafreniere, Trocheck, Panarin at 29.85. VC and Goodrow and Brodzinski at 8.8. I think that those are probably up a little bit if Hedl is in the lineup, but he apparently was dealing with some illness and everything like that. Let's see, BTS not the man. I subbed. You have really good hockey takes. I appreciate it, Kane's YouTuber. Also, check out these guys' podcast, Caniac Report, and there's also Caniac Sessions. We do a bunch of stuff together. We like our group. Let's see. In all fairness, high danger chances are a better metric than shots on net. Do you have that stat by any chance? I think they went back and forth pretty. Yeah, that's what I was just reading, actually, was the expected goals metric. That's actually, out of all the advanced metrics, my favorite ones are XG or XG versus goals percentage, and Corsi. Those are my favorite ones. Those are ones I think that are most telling. Corsi by itself is not good. Corsi needs to
No,
be
it's
applied
not.
with other stuff.
Because it
Fit,
includes block shots, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, and then there's Fenwick that's blocked attempts and unblocked attempts. So
Exactly.
I like using all of them together, but it's just like not one tells a story. That's why I get pissed off when people say, "Oh, plus minus this, plus minus that." Plus minus is the most misleading stat in the game of hockey.
I don't like that stat.
I don't either. Expected plus minus, I like that one. That one's good because it's adjusted for events on ice. I think that one's good. Actual
Yes.
plus minus is not a good stat because it's like, okay, for example, there was one season that Joe Pavelski was minus 18. Do you want to say he's a bad hockey player? Like he skates like a baby giraffe, but he's the best net front guy probably in the modern era of the game, along with Kreider.
Yeah. And I mean, I think just to get a total picture of not just hockey, but sports itself is just combining the stats with the eye test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
no,
there are
you have to
certain
have
things that you see that don't translate on paper.
No, you have to have the metrics and you have to have the observations. So it's like, one of everyone's favorite things to do is to grab a JFresh card and slap it on an argument. I'm like, okay, hold on, look, I'm not saying the metrics don't have a place. They totally do. But you also have to watch the damn game and figure out like what's going on and everything like that. That's like when I get them developing the player stat cards, mine's not going to just have metrics, it's going to have observations about it too. So
Yeah.
it's like
a good examples, I mean, is basically the last game we had 50 shots.
yeah.
But it didn't sound like it because all of them were just coming from the perimeter.
That's something they got to clean up. That as much as I don't like Boucher, he was right about that. Hold on to it for an extra second and generate a better shot than what you got, or we're not going to beat Shesterkin again. And that's like the thing that he was saying that was absolutely true. And then they're either doing that or they're passing it too much. If we can get the KK line going, dude, I feel so bad for him. I was like, finally, he's going to score a goal, and fuck, he was 3 feet in front of the crease, and he managed to. JFK if KK was the shooter.
But the thing is, I thought that line was better than the jury line because I
It
just
was.
don't like that jury line. I really
Actually, let me see what their XG was again. Hold on. The jury line actually had the second highest for the Hurricanes and the third highest overall 5-on-5 expected goals percentage in this game, which is surprising to me because it did not look like that watching it.
No, it did not.
They must have really capitalized in some situation that I just didn't notice.
Yeah, and the only player that actually like goes into the boards, I mean, I guess you can say a little bit of jury's Martin Buck. Netchus, I didn't think he had a good game. I thought he was just being too fancy and just wasn't making good passes.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I think part of that is his line mates. He kind of needs to drag that line a bit, which is why I don't like that line. But
yeah. Well, here's one thing that I was thinking. Okay, so we don't have Fost. We know we're not going to get him back unless we stay in the playoffs longer. Here's where I think Lemieux would have been useful. Fost out, Lemieux in. So you basically have the MSF line, but instead of Fost, you have Lemieux. Okay, Lemieux's not going to put up the points. We already know that. But you know what he can do? He'll hit people.
Yeah, he can. You know what Lemieux brings. You don't know what you're getting with KK.
Yeah.
That is my one thing. And I think it's good to have that physical presence. And honestly, I don't care what team you are. If you're in the playoffs and you want to win the Stanley Cup, you need physicalness.
Yes. Yeah, so that's why I was like, and then on top of that, you basically have the MSF line back. So you have your checking line, you have your shutdown line.
Yes.
And then you can build the top 9 after that. And then you put Jarvis back with Aho and Gensel. You got your Jag line back. Then you just got to figure out how you mix up the middle 6. And pretty much it's like, okay, put Kuzi here, put put Kuzi here, put Drury here. Who's going to flank who? Go from there. Because like I'd rather have Lemieux in the lineup than KK right now. I thought KK played pretty well tonight. I don't know if this is just the world's worst case of bad luck, and he just can't put a puck in the net or get an assist, and then we have to go into a little bit of a reclamation project type of thing with him or trade him, one of the two. But right now, Lemieux is the guy that I think that they should just go ahead and put in because if we win the next game, it's probably going to be by one damn goal again. We might as well put Lemieux in.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think our lineups are more have more of an advantage when you're on the road, but not at home. So that's why if we're playing at MSG with this lineup, okay, I can probably live with it, but not at home.
No.
You don't. If you can have a checking line, then that means that you can. What I would do, or I think what Brendan Moore probably would do, is put that stall checking line with or have them go up against the Trocheck line, because it seems like that's the Achilles heel for the Hurricanes is that Trocheck line.
Yeah, and they managed to shut it down enough tonight, just enough. They didn't get the opportunity to completely let that line take over the game. That definitely helped out tonight, but I still think that we've got until Monday. These lines, they need to change a little bit, not a ton, but they need to swap 2 or 3 guys, because you already know
that first line intact. I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. Let's see. Finally get home to relax after the game. You having a beer tonight? No, so I don't drink a ton. I'm saving that for later rounds of the playoffs, hopefully. Typically, like I let myself have like one a game sometimes, but for the most part I don't, because I've been getting up and going to the gym and going to the rink again and doing all kinds of stuff that I was doing before. But this is my favorite thing to drink lately is Waterloo sparkling waters. I don't know why, but I love these damn things.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to head out because we're gonna have the other Sam just got home, so we're.
So you guys gotta go record your stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. Everyone, Sam Wallace of the Caniac Report. I highly recommend checking that out. Thank you for stopping by, man. I was really glad to have you here.
Yeah, no problem. See you.
All right. Monday, if you guys aren't busy, I'll do another one of these.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. About 5 o'clock or so.
Yeah, I could probably do that. I get off at 4 from work, so
that'll work. That's about what time I get off, so that will work.
Awesome. Yeah. See you.
All right. See you, buddy. All righty. Would y'all want a new coach if Brendan Moore doesn't pull it off? Okay. So the answer for that for me is actually kind of nuanced. It's not at this point. It's not an if he pulls it off. It's more of a, let's say the series goes to 7 games and Carolina still loses. I think that Brendan Moore gets a new contract. It also depends on how attached he is to his assistants, which he very much is. Jeff Daniels and him played together for a long time. Tim Gleason. I've got some criticism of the idea of Jeff Daniels continuing to coach, and I think that Rod should relinquish control of the power play, and the Hurricanes need to hire an actual power play coach. Otherwise, this ain't gonna last. So I would say jury is out on that for me. If Carolina had lost tonight, I would say that at a minimum, Jeff Daniels has to go, and if that's a deal breaker for Brendan Moore and Gleason, you let them go too. And then the only other coach I could think of right now and that's without me doing a ton of research on it, mind you, so I'd have to think about it some more. Sam Driscoll, the other Sam from the podcast that I just had this guest from, he had a few coaches lined up. The only one I've really thought about is Jay Woodcroft, because I think he did a good job with Edmonton when their forward group is basically centered around, I would say, 4 players, and they don't have the depth that a team like Carolina has, or like that Florida has, or the Rangers have. So him having a more complete lineup and having really good defense, I would be interested to see what a guy like Woodcroft would do with something like that. But I also am reluctant to let Rod go because of, Joel Quenneville, John Cooper. Those guys are very synonymous with their franchises. It took them a while to get them to where they were winning multiple cups and everything like that. And we also have to consider Tampa had one of the best seasons in one of the best seasons in the history of the National Hockey League, and went and got swept by Columbus in 2019. It takes a while to build things. So the jury is kind of out on that for me. At the moment, I would say yes. But I a lot of it's going to depend on how this series ends. And plus, Carolina's owner, when compared to other owners around the National Hockey League, is different. He's a little unconventional by comparison. So there's also that has to be considered. Yeah, no, I'm on the fence. Would his job be compromised? I don't think so. Also, it's like I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be surprised. I would say he's actually the front runner to be. Sorry, my dog's over there playing with this toy. Forgive the background noise. Brendan Moore's probably the front runner to be the coach of Team Canada, I would imagine, when they do the Four Nations face-off and then the Olympics the year after that. So that's also another factor with it too. So we'll see. Right now, I'd say keep him. See, but it may not matter. I think we should give him a new deal for 2 or 3 years. Yeah, a short-term deal I think would be okay, depending on how everything ends here. but 25-meter target, just kind of looking ahead to Monday now. He's a great coach, but the league is a jungle. And yeah, if someone could pry him away, your first line has been killing us. Yeah, it's that's been the bright spot with the forwards, and even then, I'm not really in agreement with it being Svechnikov up there instead of Jarvis, and that's not because of Svechnikov like playing poorly or anything like that. It's just I don't think his skill set is built for a line like that, but he did pretty well tonight. Let's see. Absolutely, I'm surprised no one has tried to pry him away. I don't think he'll go anywhere just because his youngest son is still here playing, and his older son Skylar is playing for the Charlotte Checkers, and he's just kind of attached to this area. I don't think he wants to leave. I really don't. Let's see. 6 years. I couldn't have imagined Waddell outlasting Rod, but it could happen. Yes, Don Waddell's job, regardless, should be safe. He did what he was supposed to do at the deadline. He went and got us 2 players, of which both of them had an impact tonight, for example. Let's see. Who's your favorite Canes of all time? Minus Falk. Okay, so that's tough for me. I don't have a definitive favorite hockey player. I can tell you who my favorite baseball player was. That was Chipper Jones. I can tell you who my favorite race car driver ever was. That was Dale Earnhardt. I can tell you who my favorite football player ever was. That was Luke Kuechly. I got to go. Thanks for the insight. Good luck and may the best team win. Take care. Yes, thank you. You're welcome here anytime, bud. Yeah, it's just like I've had some Rangers fans come in here and be really cool like you, and then there's other ones been kind of but I knew that you were just playing around when you walked in. It was happy to have you here. RBA tippy taps with the cup easy. So when it comes to my favorite Canes, I almost have to categorize them, right? I can tell you who my favorite minor league hockey player ever was that played for the Fire Ants. That was a guy named Dwight Wolf. I actually found him on X. I need to reach out to him and see if he remembers me because I was just a kid the last time he saw me. So my favorite Hurricanes. Let's see. Aho turned the franchise around and got me back into hockey, really. Aho's definitely one of my favorites. So I have to kind of divide it up by era. If I had to say from the Cup team, I'm torn between Justin Williams and Rod Brind'Amour. Mike Commodore, one of my favorites ever. If you go way back, Sean Hill, one of my favorite players ever. Let's see, Brett Hedican, really liked him. Bob Bugner, he wasn't a Hurricane for a really long time, but still really awesome. From after that, from the 2009 era, my favorite player, without a doubt, was Tuomo Ruutu. That was the first Hurricane sweater I ever had. Excuse me, with a name on it was Tuomo Ruutu. I was an E3 in the Navy, so all I could really afford was like one of the Reebok replicas, and his name's on that. And I've got an authentic now of the old alternate, and eventually I'm going to get his name put on that one. Let's see. From this era now, that's tough. So for the record, the only made in Canada sweater I have, because the authentics that you buy, like the eye and everything, are different from the ones the players actually wear. I have one of the pro stock ones, one of the white ones, the At a Zero ones before they went to the prime green ones. The moment I got that sweater, I'm like, when Aho renews his contract, I will get his name on that one. I love everything about Sebastian Aho's game, especially this series now that he's turned on the physicality a little bit. I'm really torn between him, Slavin. It's a tough call between those two. I have KK on my Stadium Series sweater. I really like him. I hate that he's fell off so bad. I want to see him salvage his career and stay with the Hurricanes. Some drastic things are going to have to be done, but I would love to see him do that. Let's see. I get heat for this all the time, but I really like Tony DeAngelo. Like, he's one of my favorites too. Let's see. If I had to put them in an order, I would say, I'll say Aho, Slavin, Ruutu, Williams, Brind'Amour, Commodore, Hill, Pesci, DeAngelo. I'd say those are my favorites. BTS, I went to my first hockey game at 8, and for some reason I could not keep my eyes off Falk. So I absolutely loved Justin Falk, and I felt like people scapegoated him a bit when he was here. He definitely had some of his issues at times, but there were times where I really, really loved watching him play. I loved watching him drop clap bombs on the power play in particular. I really like Justin Falk. I hope I hope he does better once he gets his injury stuff sorted out with St. Louis and everything like that. Oh, speaking of St. Louis, one of a former Blue and also a former Hurricane, one of my favorite Hurricanes ever, albeit only for a season, Joel Edmondson. That guy was great. Let's see. Jarvis hadn't really been a factor against NYR, and I wonder if it's a line or something up with him. I think Svetch has done great on that top line, though. Didn't really see the point in Jarvis being moved down at the start of the playoffs. Yeah, see that was my whole thing with it. I feel like Jarvis adds a little bit of an offensive spark to Stahl, but only when Martinook is with them as well. That's why I think if you front load the lines a bit and let Aho, Jarvis, and Gensel be a line again, and put Svechnikov down there with Stahl, and you've got two really physical guys, one of them with a scoring touch together, and maybe put Martinook back with them. I did not agree with breaking up the Jag line at all. I know that they had a couple of like really, really bad sequences and ultimately one bad game in the first round, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I wanted them to do something a little bit different and everything like that, but they changed it up too much. I think that they should have got back through that. Pat the Ref, Slavin is my guy. Jacob Slavin is one of the most. I legitimately believe this guy would have been a household name a few years ago when shutdown defensemen were really, really, really appreciated. And I think he's the best one in the league. The closest one to him, in my opinion, is Adam Pelech. And then Jonas Brodin, Essa Lindell, both of those guys are really good shutdown defensemen. But I think Slavin is just one of those guys that just absolutely clears everybody else in that regard. So, yeah, I think that, like, when it comes to being a pure shutdown defenseman, as in you tap someone on the shoulder and say you go out there and you shut Connor McDavid down, Jacob Slavin is your best bet. And that's why I already said if Team USA doesn't pick up Jacob Slavin, because I don't know what direction Bill Guerin's going to go in. If Team USA doesn't pick up Jacob Slavin, I'm going to be finished for 2 weeks. I'm dead serious. I can't cheer for that team if they don't pick up Jacob Slavin. If you put Quinn or Luke Hughes out there and Jacob Slavin is not out there with them, they will get walked. Every time McKinnon, McDavid, any of those guys come up ice, they will get walked without Slavin there. That is their best chance. Cannot forget Cam Ward, though. Yeah, see, that's what's funny. I love Wardo. I have no goalie memorabilia whatsoever. I don't know, maybe it's just because I skate out, and most of my favorite players are centers and right defensemen, exception being like Slavin and all that. And then, my other two favorite wingers of all time were definitely my favorite wingers of all time by far, Ruutu and Williams. Let's see. Don't know if you can change it up during an elimination game, though. No, you can't now. You're absolutely right about that. I was thinking more if we managed to get through this, then you consider maybe changing something up for the next series, because if you manage to get through this, you would be facing the winner of Boston and Florida. So Artur Zerbe. So I actually used to live really close to him, and I didn't know it because he was the Capitals goalie coach for a while. And I actually know a woman who went on a date with him. Like, it's a small fucking world, isn't it? She said that he was a really nice guy, actually, and everything. And it's just, I didn't ask her any details about whatever happened with him. None of my fucking business. But, Urbe was great. I really liked Kevin Weeks as well from that time frame. I'd have to really, really give it some thought. If I had to say, if someone said, Chad LaRose, I forgot to mention Chad LaRose. Chad LaRose is another one of my favorite Hurricanes of all time. I loved everything about his game. Talk about like the purest form of a grinder. Like that guy was awesome. I could say I could maybe rank, if I made I do have videos I want to make about like my top 10 favorite Hurricanes centers, top 10 favorite Hurricanes wingers, top 10 favorite Hurricanes defensemen, top 5 goalies, all that type of stuff. I just have to really think about like what order I would want to put them in and why. But it's like top winger that's tied between two guys. That's Tuomo Ruutu and Justin Williams. I really liked Jussi Jokinen as well. Eric Stahl too. I remember my favorite number being 12 because of him and begging for his jersey for Christmas. Here's one of the reasons why I do my best to criticize players in a fair way. When I was younger and even more stupid than I am now, believe it or not, I had this thing for scapegoating Cam Ward and Eric Stahl in particular. And now when I look back on it, Cam Ward didn't have a good team in front of him most of the time he was with Carolina. Eric Stahl didn't have a good team built around him, and he played through some really, really bad injuries. And there were a lot of times I was like, wow, this guy sucks. Like, trade him. And that's why I was like, I'll never be like that about it again, because he was not given a legitimate chance to succeed with the Hurricanes. That's why he asked for the amount of money he did, and basically forced Francis to trade him. Let's see. Pat the Ref, Ray Whitney, the Wizard, was probably my favorite from the older teams. Wow, yeah, Ray Whitney was he was very essential to that Cup team. He really was. Without him, I don't think Carolina wins the Cup. I really don't. I'm trying to think. Kevin and Craig Adams, I really like them. Um, yeah, it's hard for me to decide who my definitive favorite Hurricanes are. I can tell you who some of my least favorite ones were. Noah Hannafin, I fucking hated his ass. Um, Ryan Murphy, John Michael Lyles, couldn't stand him. And this isn't an indictment on them as people. I just as players, I didn't like them. Let's see. Jake Bean, I'm glad we traded him. I didn't like him at all. Alexander Simmon, I do legitimately fucking hate that guy. When they signed him to that 1 year deal, I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna work. And then they signed him to that whatever it was, 6x6 or whatever it was, and then he only scored 4 goals or whatever. Nah, fuck him. I hate him. BTS, who is your least favorite NHL team? That's a tough call. That is a tough call. I don't know who my least favorite one is. I know the other teams that I like and that I like to watch. I like to watch the Vancouver Canucks. I like the Nashville Predators. I actually watched the Florida Panthers quite a bit actually. They were one of my other favorite teams to watch as far as like teams that I follow, like if the Hurricanes are out of it and everything. Dallas, I really like a lot of their players. I'm a really big fan of Joe Pavelski, Miro Heiskanen, and Roope Hintz. If Carolina doesn't win the Cup, I would like to see Dallas do it. Jason Robertson, one of my other favorite players. Let's see. The fact that Cam got 300 wins with the teams that he played with says a lot about him, in my opinion. Yeah, I can only imagine how good of a career Cam Ward would have had it not been for that one really weird injury he had, and if he played somewhere other than Carolina in the worst possible era that he could have played. I think that he might have had another cup if he played somewhere else. Sandis Ozolinj, last defenseman with a hat trick before Jacob Slavin did it against the Islanders back in 2017. Sandis Ozolinj is awesome. And it's so weird, like just a few years ago, I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he was still playing for the I think he was still playing for his national team at like 50 years old. I think that was him. Definitely the Rangers after the past 2 years, but the Capitals before that. Yeah, okay, so I have a weird thing when it comes to the Capitals. I don't like them at all, but I have a lot of friends who are Caps fans because of where I live. And before that, I was stationed in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area, so I know a ton of them, and I know a lot of them that are really cool. But then there's some of them I can't stand. Like, there's some of them that I'm like, yo, why the fuck are you such a dick? Like, what did I do to you? And then, to be fair, I mean, I've got a pretty punchable face. Let's see. Who is your least favorite fan base? I hate to say this because I kind of feel like I'm beating up the new kid, Vegas. Without a doubt, Vegas. I cannot. I'm not saying that they're all like this because I was at the game last year when they were in town, and most of the ones I sat around were really cool. But the ones online, holy fucking shit, they are mean and they are stupid at times. If I had to pick one, Boston, yeah, I definitely do not like Boston. No, not one bit. Buffalo, that's a good one. So like I hate Buffalo like a lot, but I also don't waste any energy hating on them because they're kind of irrelevant. Like the only way that the Sabres are going to win a cup is if you watch Bruce Almighty on repeat. That's the only place that they've ever done it, or in the video game. And I hope that that's all they ever do. I want them to suffer forever. I don't know if you guys remember. I think I was overseas when it happened, but they were doing commemorative mugs one night for like the first however many fans in attendance. What I got told was, I don't know how true this is. Someone told me a long time ago. I haven't spoken to this person in years. So they did the commemorative mugs that they handed out, and apparently the Sabres fans that live in the area, they had a coordinated effort like on Facebook or something like that, and they all got together, got there, were the first ones in line to get the mugs, and they went out to the parking lot and threw them at people's cars and trashed the whole parking lot and shit, breaking glass everywhere. So one thing I have to say, one, why the fuck would you do that? Like, give out commemorative mugs at a sporting event where people get drunk and do stupid shit like that. Two, why would you do it when you know the Sabres are a problem because RPD has to have extra cops there when they're in town, even though they don't really show up to games anymore because obvious reasons. And the other reason being, like, just why would you do that at all? It's just not a good idea. But no, Buffalo, yeah, I fucking hate them. And this isn't against any of the Sabres fans I know, because I know two of them that are some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. There was one I used to play with, and this guy, he was one of those dudes that he would come in the locker room after we won, and all he would talk about is the stuff he did. He'd come in the locker room after we lost, and all he'd talk about is what everybody else did. He was one of those dudes that just kind of like, if we won, it was because of him. If we lost, it was because of everybody else. And this guy had zero fucking defense to his game. Whereas my game's 100% defense. In a 20-game beer league season, I might score 4 goals and have 8 points, but I don't get beat a lot. Let's see. Seattle is a new kid. You can hate on Vegas all you want. Yeah, I can't hate on Seattle though, man. All the interactions I've had with Seattle fans have been pretty pleasant. Vegas fans, I know that they don't all suck, but there's a lot of them that are just like, they don't understand. Okay, so like the Mark Stone thing, the LTIR thing. A lot of them want to say stuff like say stuff like, oh, well, your team could do it too, blah, cry more. Okay, well, first off, our team's in the Eastern Conference, which is way harder nowadays. It used to be the other way around. We can't afford to just random willy-nilly throw players in LTIR and expect to at least make the playoffs, whereas with them, they were pretty well ahead already when Eichel came off of LTIR and Mark Stone went on. They went out and got Hurdle and Hannafin. Yeah, I just every time that I talk to them, it's like they never talk anything intuitive about the game. Like I said, I'm not saying that they're all like that, but I just never really enjoyed interacting with them, and I'm curious to see what happens one day. They will be bad one day. I don't know when that's going to be. I think that they'll still be competitive for a few more years with the signings that they've made, and they're going to probably let some people walk to be able to keep Jonathan March or so, which if I were them, that's what I would do too. I'm just wondering how they're going to be when they're bad, because they've never been bad before. They've never had to face any adversity really at all. And that's what I'm curious to see. That franchise, though, will never go out of business, because why would you not go see your favorite team go play in Vegas? Because you can fly there, because one, you get to go to Vegas, and two, you get to see a hockey game in one of the greatest atmospheres in the NHL. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. Like, it's really cool. Like, their little medieval times pregame show and shit. I think that's awesome. I want to experience that one day. Oh, the damn Devil bandwagons fans all after last year because of Hughes. Yeah, I don't know about hating any other teams, but I will say I don't like this version of the Predators. Yeah, they. I can see that, but it's like one thing I always thought about, and I'm going to make a more extensive video about this one day. If the NHL is going to realign eventually when they go to 34 teams, and they're probably going to have offset divisions, like 2 teams with 8, or 2 divisions with 9 teams and 2 with 7 or something. There's no way to divide it by 4, so if you have 34 teams. So I was thinking, like, if you do that, you have like the top 8 in each conference make it, and then the top 7 in each conference make it, and then the 8th and the 9th seed have a 1-game play-in to get in. It's just one game, and then they have to play immediately the next day against the first place team in that conference. I thought, and then when they go to 36 teams inevitably, and I think that'll be sometime in the next 8 to 10 years, I think that it would be really cool to like go to a more division-based type of format. Maybe bring the Southeast Division back. I think would be really cool. Have Washington, Carolina, Nashville, Florida, Tampa, and the eventual Atlanta team, and have the like Southeast Division of the modern era. I would absolutely love that, because that would be some good hockey games. Carolina, Atlanta, and Nashville playing against each other 4 times a year or so. I think that would be amazing. So I can like Nashville right now. If there's ever a point in time where we're playing against each other frequently, kind of like you saw how it was in the modified bubble season, that could be an excellent geographic rivalry. I would love to see something like that. I used to be cool with them when they had Rene. I loved Pekka Rinne. I thought he was great. I like UC Saros a lot too. The Preds actually have a lot of players that I like. I'm a really big Roman Josi fan. He's one of my favorite non-Hurricanes. Let's see. Do you like Leafs fans? I do not. Every Leafs fan I've ever met in my life has been some of the coolest people I've ever met. There was one I used to work with at Pure Hockey named Cable. He was a goalie. Really, really funny dude. And I have a chiropractor who is a Leafs fan, and he's one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. All the Leafs fans I've met have been really cool. I will give them this, or I will say this about them. Some of the ones online, and I'm not saying that they're obnoxious or mean or anything like that, because I don't feel that way about them. Some of the trade proposals that they come up with, I'm kind of like, bro, put down the pipe. Like, no, that's not good. But I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I haven't come up with like some crazy ass shit in my head. But no, Leafs fans, like I feel like maybe they're a little bit disconnected from things sometimes. But I've never encountered one that was mean, not that I can think of anyway. Make it a division winners 1 and 2 seed, and then 3-7 guaranteed, and like you said, 8 and 9 play in. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, something like that because the NHL expanding is inevitable. The one thing that I hope they do, I'm a big proponent, and part of this is coming from the fact that we were getting close to losing our team. I'm a big proponent of hockey working in Arizona. For those who don't know, there's a lot of other things there that did work in Arizona in terms of hockey. University of Arizona Wildcats, they're building a new 3-rink facility there for the Wildcats hockey and to have adult leagues and youth programs and stuff like that there that they didn't have before. They're in Tucson. They also have the Roadrunners there, very successful American Hockey League franchise. ASU and the Wildcats, both Division I hockey teams aforementioned. Like there's plenty of hockey in Arizona. The thing with the Coyotes are a story of poorly managed assets. Morello absolutely fucked everything up with that, and I feel so bad for their fans. I know that people say, "Oh, well, there wasn't that many of them and all this other stuff," and I'm like, no, I can't say that about them. I think that they got handed the short end of the stick. And what I was hoping maybe they would do is work out some sort of deal to where the guys that really wanted to play in Arizona, like Clayton Keller, that maybe that they can work out some sort of drug deal with Utah to get him back. Now, me personally, if I was Smith, I'm not giving up Clayton Keller. He's an amazing player. But it would be cool if they could get him, Barrett Hayton. Like those poor fans, however many of them you want to say there are, whether there was 1 or 1 million, they waited a long time to have a team that looked like it was going to take the next step because of how poorly managed they were. Arizona was about to become a really good team, and I think that they were going to really start making the playoffs. And they waited on that team for a long time, and now it's in Utah. Like I feel so bad for their fans. I really do because that's where we were getting there. It was close. And there was a Sports Business Journal article that I want to make a video about one day as well, where Dundon even asked Waddell, like, hey, are you sure that this is the best place to have the team? So relocating it was still on the table when Dundon bought it, even though he had to agree with the sale to not relocate it, I think, for 8 years or something like that. So either way, it worked out. I wish it had for Arizona as well. I just hate that people are so down on, the quote unquote non-traditional market. And when it comes to the non-traditional market, I think that's a term that needs to be retired. Part of the reason I say that is they say the reason that they used to have certain markets where hockey wouldn't work, if you go way back in the day, it was hard to have a rink in a warmer climate. Whereas now the technology with rinks, the dehumidifiers, the compressors, the ability to maintain the ice, everything like that is so good now. You can have rinks in Florida. There's rinks in Kenya. There's a rink in Kuwait. Like you can have an ice rink. It might not be the best one ever. You can have an ice rink just about anywhere now. So that old non-traditional argument that needs to be that needs to be retired. That doesn't make any sense. You have indoor ice rinks all over the world now. Hockey can work anywhere if it is marketed correctly. That's why if the Hurricanes take a step back, I'm not super worried about it because Dundon has been good at marketing the team. The moment they ditched that Revolution shit and went to Take Warning, I clearly liked the Take Warning slogan, as you can tell. I knew everything was going to turn around and that everything was going to be fine ultimately. It took some time, but it got done. So let's see what else we got here. BTS, one thing that really makes me mad, nobody gives the Canes credit for the David Ayers game. It's only about the Leafs meme. Yeah, and see, that's one of the things I'm worried about with non-traditional is just gatekeeping. Yes, it is a bad faith argument, the whole non-traditional thing, because I've heard people saying one of my followers on X, Hokey Kane, who's really cool. He said that he lives in Arizona and not enough people there care about it, and I think that I don't put that entirely on the fans. I put that on them not marketing the team correctly. Part of the reason we have so many new fans is not just the fact we're winning. The team is being marketed much better than it ever has. The in-game experience is significantly better. Like you've got the big jumbotron, the projector that goes on the ice, all kinds of stuff we didn't have a few years ago. And I remember I was watching a playoff game with the Sharks. This was several years ago. Pavelski was still on the team. I was watching them, and they have this really cool intro called Blood in the Water, and it looks like there's sharks swimming underneath the ice with the projector that they have. I was like, I would love to see something like that in Carolina. And now we've got stuff like that, and lo and behold, people love coming to games now. And it's not just winning is the foundation of that. Yes, it's not the only reason though. And back to the David Ayers thing for a moment. I'm curious to see what Disney does with that movie. Here's one thing that I've always thought. If you've ever read a book called Boys of Winter about the Miracle on Ice team, I understand they made the movie Miracle, the 2004 movie, to be a family-friendly telling of that story. I would like to see that story retold by someone other than Disney with the correct vernacular that Herb Brooks was using. And it doesn't need to be a movie, it needs to be a miniseries so it can really flesh out the story. But a more mature and, quite frankly, accurate version of that story, it would be cool for it to be told in a more detailed experience with some more adult language, because that the Miracle movie did not do the actual event justice. I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite ones. I've got a poster of it. But I would like to see you got the people who saw that movie in 2004 that were kids like me. Now we're adults. I would like to see that made in a way that accurately portrays what happened. And then you still have the 2004 movie to show people that might be too young to, see like a mini series of it or something like that. It's the same thing with like the David Ayers thing. They're going to make a family-friendly version of that. I remember I was actually at work and we were allowed to like have hockey games on at work and stuff back then. And I was watching it and I just completely stopped doing work to watch the third period. And I'm like, are we really about to win this game with a fucking Zamboni driver in net? And they show after the game was over, everyone's crowding around him, everything. He walks into the locker room, and I don't know who it was. It sounded like Martinook. It sounded like someone yelled, David fucking Ayers. I'm pretty sure it was Martinook. You won't have that in a Disney movie, but damn, if that was not a significant moment in that evening, like, let's see, sign me up for that. Yes. As the Four Nations face off and the Olympics, one of the two gets closer, I'm going to talk about some of the details of the whole Boys of Winter book and everything like that, and why I want to see that adapted into a miniseries, and it needs to be like on HBO Max if they're going to be accurate about it. Like, Herb Brooks was a harsh motherfucker. Like, there's a documentary, if you ever watched it, about that. They're interviewing Micah Ruzioni, and he says this was after they beat Russia and they were about to play Finland in the gold medal game. Eruzione said that Brooks didn't say a word to them all day, right? He walks into the locker room, he looks at all of them and says, if you lose this game, you will take it to your fucking grave. He starts to walk out, turns around and says, your fucking grave. And he said he didn't say another word for the rest of the game. That's the story I want to see put into like a TV show. Like, that's what I think would be really good, to just show it exactly how it went down, because the Miracle movie does the warm and fuzzy thing really well, but I want to see it told like that. But 30 for 30 has the Russian perspective, which is great. I believe you're talking about Of Miracles and Men. I love that documentary. That is one of my favorite ones. And that was something I actually mentioned that on one of these streams recently. I've done a lot of them lately, so I don't remember which one. One of the things that the Russians were talking about when the Team USA won that game, they were like, they had forgotten what it was like to lose. And you have to lose to understand having the contrast of, what it's like to win. If you win all the time, you don't really win. Let's see. Logan Craig, this is a great idea. Actually, my name is Craig. Wife got me a Craig USA jersey for Christmas. It was awesome. That's a good reason as any. Funny story. I have a friend whose legal name is TJ, and he owns a TJ Oshie sweater. He's a Caps fan. We won't hold that against him. And then I've got a friend named Matt Wilson, who's a frequent supporter of the channel. I guarantee you he has a Tom Wilson sweater. I mean, fuck Tom Wilson, but that's pretty cool of them. Yes, I would love to see that sort of adaptation. I really would. And I don't want Disney to do it. I want it to be like a raw docudrama type of way of telling the story. Like, I want them to use the actual language Herb Brooks used, because Disney tailored that to be a lot more family friendly. They omitted a lot of the things he actually said. But yeah, as the Four Nations face off gets closer, I think that's something that I'm going to do some detailed research about. I'm gonna get that on audiobook again, the Boys of Winter, so I can listen to it again, make some notes, and really detail that video. It'll be like one of my little documentary type of videos, good 15, 20 minutes, something like that. I think that all that would be good. I think another story that would be cool to tell is to talk about the Salt Lake City Olympics. There's little documentaries about it, but one that, would be kind of along the same lines. I think that would be cool. Yeah, no, there's a bunch of cool things that they can do with stuff like that. But I'm curious to see what Disney does with the David Ayers movie. I'm not super excited about it, but at some point or another, I'll sit down and watch it. All right, guys, this has been a very exciting, eventful evening, but the Canes still have some work to do. I believe that they will win the next game and bring it back to PNC Arena, and then at that point, all bets are off. But they need to do the exact same thing next game that they did in this game: win it one shift at a time, win the foot races, win the board battles, do the little things right, and good things will start to happen. We finally had a power play goal tonight, so we'll see what happens the next time they get a power play. If they can score, I would love nothing more than to see them getting an early power play and that be their first goal on Monday night. And then I think that you're going to see this team finally hit another gear because they haven't played their best yet. Honestly, if I had to rank it, I would say games 2 and 3 were their best ones, and they still lost. Game 1, I didn't really like how they played. I think that was actually their worst one of the series. I would rank this game tonight. They played a little bit better than they did in game 1, but not nearly as good as they did in 2 and 3, in my opinion. So I'm going to call it a night, guys. I'm going to hang out with my dog, and he's probably got to walk again and everything like that. Thank you all very much for joining me. And I have one last thing. I have now hit 400 subscribers. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. I will be on here probably Monday at 5 o'clock. I'm going to try and do a pregame live show, and we will go from there. Y'all take care. I will see you next time. It's been a lot of fun.